Hey everybody, welcome to the brand and brave new world of online learning. So we started this PowerPoint on tools of the trade the week before spring break, but we never finished it. So I wanted to go ahead and finish it up. All right, so next up is pruning equipment. And there is a video that I showed you in class. It was an overview of pruning equipment out of Utah State University Extension. I showed you that in class, and what I can do is if you want to look at that again, I can just put that up as a link in my folder for that particular day. So look for it there if you want to see that pruning equipment video again. Okay, so what you're looking at here are called bypass pruners. And they're called bypass pruners because one blade slides by or past the other blade. So if you look at these pruners, and if you look at the blade that's on the blade on the left is the cutting blade. The blade on the right is a fixed blade. So the cutting blade is going to slide past the fixed blade with kind of a shearing action or shearing cut. So this type of pruner is used for cutting live wood. So if you have a branch on a tree, maybe up to about 3/4 or possibly 1 inch in diameter, and it's a living branch, not a dead branch, this could be one of the tools that you could use to remove that particular branch. So these are called bypass pruners. Felco is a company that makes bypass pruners. They are a Swiss company. They make excellent products, excellent pruners. Back in 2012, you could buy some Felco bypass pruners for about 50 bucks. So if you want a pair of pruners that's going to last for a long time, Felco is a good brand. On Felco's, many of the Felco bypass pruners have replaceable blades. So when the blade wears out, you can just buy another blade and you put it on your pruners, and then you're good to go for probably another 10 years or so. This is another company's version of the bypass pruners. These are Corona bypass pruners. You see a lot of Corona products being sold in the big box stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. These are, very good quality pruners. The only problem with the model that you see pictured here is that the blade is not replaceable. So when that blade starts to wear out, and it will over the course of many years, then basically you have to just buy a whole new pair of pruners. You can't replace the blade. Corona bypass pruners are going to run you about $22, probably a little more now because these prices are 8 years old. These are called anvil pruners, and basically they have one blade, which is a cutting blade, that comes down upon a fixed anvil style blade. So this particular pair of pruners is really not used for live wood. It's used for cutting dead wood. So you may wonder, well, which kind do I want to buy? Do I want to buy bypass pruners, or do I want to buy anvil style pruners like you see here? And I would highly recommend that you buy a good pair of bypass pruners because they're going to be far more valuable to you than anvil pruners. All right, prices for anvil pruners, $49 back in 2012. Okay, here's another video. bypass versus anvil pruners. I think I showed this to you in class, but this is another video that I can just put a link to this in the folder for that particular class day, and if you want to look at it again, you'll be able to see it there. All right, so this tool is called loppers. So loppers are basically bypass pruners with long handles. And the longer the handle, the more leverage you have, and the bigger the size of the branch you can cut. So with a pair of handheld bypass pruners, you're looking at cutting branches, 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch or smaller. With a pair of loppers, you could be cutting branches maybe up to 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, possibly 2 inches thick. So the price of loppers is going to vary depending upon the length of the handle. So 20-inch loppers about $66. 24-inch loppers $68. 28-inch loppers $70. And A.M. Leonard has its own brand of loppers, so if you're shopping through A.M. Leonard, you can buy their brand. Their brand is going to be probably more reasonably priced than some of the other name brand manufacturers. All right, these are hedge shears. So these are for pruning hedges. Really for pruning fine textured plants, for shaping them, for doing what's called topiary. This is the kind of tool that you would use. So if you have some boxwoods planted in the front of your house as foundation plantings, and if you're trying to grow those boxwood into an actual hedge, then this is the tool that you could use to shape those plants over time and turn them into a hedge. So hedge shears, these can be kind of pricey. About $70 for a 23-inch long model. Almost $80 for the 29.5-inch long model. So the amount you pay is going to depend a lot upon the quality of the steel that the cutting blades are made out of. Now the blades can be resharpened, so as you use them, you can use special stones or rotary tools to sharpen your hedge shears. So they're going to last many years, but if you get shears with high quality steel, they're going to last much longer than hedge shears made from lower quality steel. Okay, this is a Japanese manufacturer of hedge shears called Okatsuni. And as you can see, these are a little bit pricey. All right, the next pruning tool that we want to take a look at is the pruning saw. So this particular saw is a folding pruning saw. And generally pruning saws cut primarily on the back stroke. So as you pull the saw back, that's when most of the cutting action is going to occur. Also, the teeth on the saw blade are hollow ground, which means that they flare out a little bit so as to give the blade a little more room when you make the cut so the blade doesn't get caught in your cut. So this happens to be a folding model of a pruning saw, and there's a little lever that you can depress on the top that allows you to fold the blade in. And here's a price from 2012. Okay, this is really the same thing. It's a pruning saw. The only difference here is this is what we call a fixed blade pruning saw. So the blade does not fold, and usually you buy some type of scabbard or cover, a sheath that would cover up the blade, so to protect the blade and to protect you. All right, price for that in 2012 was about $28. All right, this is just a picture of a fixed blade pruning saw with a plastic scabbard that you can insert the saw into. And really all your tools, especially the pruning tools, when you're done with them, they need to be cleaned. A good way to clean them is to take a little bit of fine steel wool and some WD-40 and rub the blade down with the steel wool. And then after you've done that, just take a dry cloth and wipe the excess WD-40 off the blade, and then store it in a scabbard or fold the blade to protect the blade and yourself. Okay, this particular tool is called a needle nose hand shear. So this tool would be used for deadheading, which is the removal of flowers that are spent, that are no longer in full bloom. And people deadhead to just promote the production of additional flowers. You don't want the plant to spend a lot of energy trying to produce seed when what you want are the flowers. So all the flowers that are old and faded are generally removed, and this is a great tool to use for deadheading. All right, and there's the price for those needle nose shears. Okay, this pruning tool is called pole pruners. So this is basically a bypass pruner that is on an extendable pole. So this can reach, 20 to 30 feet up in the air. So this allows you to prune branches that you would otherwise not be able to reach unless you were on a ladder. And trust me, trying to get a ladder up around a tree can be difficult. So really the only solution is to use pole pruners like you see here. So when you pull the green cord, that's when you activate the bypass cutting action. Okay, this is a pole saw. So this is basically a pruning saw that comes with a handle, and a lot of times the handle can be extendable so that you can reach up and prune at heights. So the pole pruners would be used for the smaller material, maybe up to 1.5 inches in diameter. And then if you had a larger branch that you needed to cut, then you would have to switch over to the pole saw, which you see pictured here. And a lot of times you can buy a piece of equipment that has both the pruners and the saw mounted on it at the same time. All right, so that was a pole saw. All right, this is a gasoline version of a hedge trimmer. So this basically does the same type of work that hedge shears would do, except you've got the power of a gasoline engine behind you. So if you have a lot of shearing to do, a lot of hedge shearing to do, then this would be a better tool to use. The hedge shears, the manual hedge shears, would be good for a small amount of plants. But if you had a very long hedge that was maybe the entire width of your backyard, it's going to take a lot of effort to do that with a pair of hedge shears. So the hedge trimmer would probably be a better option for you. All right, good for you. You have reached the end of part 2 of 3. Thanks for watching.